Hello, Cats and Kittens, or I would say Yoroshko. I'm back in the Crisis Corner today with a question that is also a statement. The question is, what are your favorite comic book or anime relationships? Now, what do relationships bring to comics or anime? It turns an adventure into a story. The relationships that are forged by characters in comics is like what turns two pieces of bread into a sandwich. You know what I mean? It's what goes in the middle. What sucks you in, aside from the adventure, aside from the beatdowns and the powers and all of that stuff. How individuals within the story relate to each other, deal with each other. And this is not necessarily just speaking ships, shipping people, This is about relationships beyond romantic relationships, but romantic relationships included. So I'm talking about brotherhood, I'm talking about student pupil, I'm talking about father-son, rivals, romance, true romance, buddies, that kind of thing. What are your favorite relationships in the comics or the anime that you read? And I've come up with my own top 10. My top 10 relationships in comics. I'm going to rattle them off to you. Now, I'm going to admit, there's some that I miss because I threw these up off the top of my head. I just, banged them out off the top of my head initially. Then when I went back and checked, I said, oh, okay, I missed maybe Colossus and Kitty Pryde, maybe Reed Richards and Susan Richards, or, whoever. But these are the top 10 that come first in my mind and are the most impactful relationships in the comics that I read and why. Okay, so we're going to start with number 10. Number 10, I begin with Johnny Storm and SpiderMan. It's an interesting relationship because it's a buddy relationship. It's like buddy cop, your buddy cop movies. It's bordering on rivals, but it's more or less buddies because Spider-Man and Johnny Storm don't interact often, so I can't really call them rivals. But when they see each other, they may go on an adventure, blah, blah, blah. But at root, these guys are friends. You can tell. They got each other's back, they help each other, but they also poke fun at each other at the other's expense. And I'm going to use as a reference, check out Amazing Spider-Man 258. If you remember, that's the episode where Spider-Man finds out that his costume that he had just adopted at that time was in fact alive. Technically the first appearance, well, not the first appearance, but it's confirmed that Venom is actually a thing, that his costume is a living thing. And he gets help from the Fantastic Four. And at the tail end, Johnny, he gets his dig in, because, these guys, they're buddies. And buddies, sometimes they pick on each other. But that's one of my favorite examples. So number 10 is Spider-Man and the Human Torch. Or Peter Parker, Johnny Storm, however you want to put that. Next up, number 9, Dick Grayson, Barbara Gordon. One of my problems with modern comics or the current mainstream comics is that relationships don't advance. They always get halted, or at some point they're content or whatever scratched out of existence because reasons. Maybe another creator comes on board to a character and you say, well, I don't like Nightwing with this person, I'm going to put him with that person, whatever. And since the characters don't get to advance to any finality, their relationships are always fluid and they don't actually mean anything. the longer the story progresses. But my favorite shipping of Nightwing would be him and Barbara Gordon, because that's what I say, a childhood romance, relatively speaking. And then, for example, of them, I would say check out. I can't remember if it's Batgirl Year One or Nightwing or Robin Year One or Batgirl Year One. One of those two. I think it's Batgirl Year, where she recalls when she first met Dick Grayson and how it started up, and you can advance from there. In the Nightwing series that was written by, might have been Devin Grace. I can't remember who exactly was writing it, but they delved into their relationship there a little bit. Devin Grayson, maybe? I think. It wasn't Chuck Dixon, but, work it out. Their relationship advances there a little bit more, but eventually, as these things go, they get scattered to the wind. I don't know who Dick Grayson's running with now, man, woman, or child. I don't know. But it is what it is. But my favorite pairing is, because it started off as Dick having this crush on Barbara, who was older than him, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And eventually it blooms into romance and all that good stuff. But it's a cute pairing. Even when she goes Oracle mode or whatever, they're still kind of together. But like I say, they broke that up, and I don't know who's running with who at this point. But that's my number 9. Childhood romance, Dick Grayson, Barbara Gordon. Number 8, Scott Summers and, not Jean Grey, Scott Summers and Professor X. Pupil to student to mentor relationship. And I would say there you would need to check out the early, I'll say the mid to late 70s to 90s Chris Claremont run on the X-Men. I think he depicted a beautiful pupil to mentor relationship. It may not have been as familial as some of the other ones as I go up the list, and there may not be as much expressed love between the two, but this is the person. Cyclops is the person that Professor X chose to carry on his dream. I remember in the first X-Men movie, when Xavier gets laid out, I can't remember what happened. He's out unconscious because of something, I don't know, I can't remember. But Scott makes the statement that if anything happens to you, I'll take care of it. Meaning the X-Men. He is the dude handpicked to carry out Xavier's dream. And I like that relationship between the two. Because this is it's like in football, sometimes you have a coach who may have a quarterback that basically represents him on the field. This is me on the field handling things. That's what Cyclops is to Professor Xavier, and I love their relationship. Well, I used to love their relationship. Right now, I think, you know what I'm saying, time, deals a blow to all of these relationships. I don't know what they're doing right now. At some point, Cyclops killed Professor Xavier, and all kind of other madness went on. So whatever. I'm just going to my sweet spot, my golden era of their relationship. I would say Chris Claremont stuff between the mid to late 70s and through the early 80s, the early 90s. But that's my number 8. Scott Summers, Professor Xavier, Professor Charles Xavier, pupil to mentor. Number 7, I have Peter Parker, Mary Jane Parker, okay? And I say that this is them up until they got married, okay? They went through a lot of bumps and bruises to get to where they were. If you're familiar with the SpiderMan mythos, he had to go through Gwen Stacy, Betty Brant, all kinds of relationships until he came to the conclusion that Mary Jane, well, Gwen got wiped out of the equation. So there was that. So technically, Gwen was his first love and probably his greatest love. But once she got scratched from the lineup, what could you do? It kind of sounds messed up when you look at it that way. But Mary Jane winds up being his. It's true romance to me because you had to go through a lot to get there. And they both went through a lot to get to that point in their lives where they found each other and they got married. Then comes, One More Day, and they blew that up. They tore it apart. You see, modern day comics, you can't get married. It's just one of them things. It can't be done. Only characters that got married successfully and stayed together is Reed and Sue Richards, man. But they was, and that's one of the weirdest romances out there. But Peter and Mary Jane should have stayed together. They should be together in the comics right now. Technically, I don't know if they are or they're not, because I'm not reading the big two right now, because they've cut themselves off from their past. There's no legacy. There's no stretching back to the past in Marvel or DC. So, they just, throw it against the wall and see if it sticks. He could be running with Felicia Hardy. He could be running with whoever. Speaking of Peter, I mean. So I don't know what their status is right now, but to me, that's one of the greatest romantic relationships in comics. It's one of my favorites, hands down. And that's weird because it's kind of low on this list. But like I said, I'm talking about different types of relationships. So we say that. So number 7 is Peter Parker, Mary Jane. Number 6, I gotta go into my anime bag because I'm anime to the core. My number 6 relationship, Uzumaki Naruto and Nara Shikamaru. Shikamaru and Naruto that's Nakama right there. The weird thing about Naruto is the story is basically about one guy, Naruto, trying to redeem his friend Uchiha Sasuke. And basically the whole story is basically built around that. His one friend has slid into the dark side and he's trying to get him and raise him back up where he believes he belongs. At his side the entire time is Nara Shikamaru. The man had his back at every turn. He's the one dude. I mean, he's got, Naruto has allies. He's got Kakashi. He's got Sakura. He's got whatever. But the constant in my mind at his side is Shikamaru. The dude is boss level loyal to Naruto. And as it stands out, or as it ends, at the end of the series, he winds up being basically his consigliere, his right-hand man, as he takes the post of the leader of his village. As Naruto takes the post as the leader of his village, Shikamaru was right by his side. And he goes through all kinds of hell to help this man achieve his goal. And he does. He does redeem his friend Sasuke, but only because of the help of Shikamaru. That's one of my favorite relationships in anime. And I would give an example. I should have given the example of going back to Mary Jane and Peter Parker. I would throw out the example of Amazing Spider-Man 259. Read that. That's beautiful. And this is where you'll see. For Shikamaru and Naruto, I would throw out you can go to the anime of Naruto Shippuden, episode 153. Naruto has been dealt one of the crushing emotional blows of the entire series. Who's at his side eventually? Who is it that, in the end, pulls him back and gets him back into the game to help defend his village? Nara Shikamaru. I'm telling you, it's beautiful. Okay, so that's number 6. Naruto and Shikamaru. Number 5, I still got to go into my anime bag. Rono Zoro and Vince Smoke Sanji. This is more. This is in the line of Spider-Man and the Human Torch, but it's more of a rivalry, but no less of a friendship. But it's a rivalry in the sense that it's kind of one of the situations where, you know, you don't really express your feelings, or maybe you don't feel like, you know how men don't express their feelings that much towards each other. But it's a situation where these two dudes are part of the same crew. They are honor bound to defend each other, to help each other. They're on the same mission. And they actually, you wouldn't know it, but they're friends. They're friends. It's one of those type of relationships, you know what I'm saying, where you feel you're too manly to express your feelings or whatever. But they're right there. By their actions, you can tell that these two are friends. So it's an intense rivalry, but it's also an intense friendship. And I would give as an example there of my number 5 relationship, Zoro and Sanji. This is kind of whimsical, but check out the anime episode 211. It's during the Davy back fights. The two clearly have their, you know, differences, but when they join together to accomplish a task, nobody can stand in their way. It's straight fire. So I got Zoro and Sanji at number 5. Number 4, I go back to mainstream comics, Batman and Jim Gordon. A fantastic relationship, one of the oldest relationships in comics. And I say this, a lot of people, you know, you think of Batman and his partners, you think of Nightwing, Robin, the other Robins, blah, blah, blah. His first partner was Jim Gordon. And it was them against the world. That's why I love that relationship. They were outgunned, outmanned, but it was them against the world. They needed each other. And I don't know what the current status of Jim Gordon or Batman is, to be honest with you. They probably killed them both off at this point. But if you go back, my reference for them would be you go to the movies. Actually, Batman Begins, I think, is an excellent example of the relationship between Batman and Jim Gordon. Or you can go to the trade paperback of Batman Year One, or you can see the animated version of Batman Year One. Either would suffice. But those were two people that clearly needed each other, who clearly had each other's back, and it was one of those us against the world type situations. Jim Gordon doesn't have anybody in his police unit that he can trust. Not absolutely. So he turns to this vigilante whose identity he doesn't even know. But the two join forces and get on that never-ending struggle against evil and all that good stuff. It's a beautiful relationship, beautiful example of a relationship of necessity. So that's my number 4, Batman and Jim Gordon. Number 3, Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson, father and son. So we run the gamut here. We got Nakama, we got True Romance, we got Honorable Rivals. Batman and Jim Gordon I describe as a foxhole partnership. Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson is a father-son relationship. Even tighter, I think, than my number 8 entry of Scott Summers and Professor Xavier, because the relationship to me began as a mentorship and turned into a father-son relationship. It was a sharing of grief, two grief-stricken people joining together, one giving the other agency through training. Speaking of Bruce Wayne, he gave Nightwing agency through training so that he could try to bring sense, so Dick could bring sense to the world that he lived in. Bruce not being the most open, the most effusive, or effusively loving type person. At the beginning, maybe not even intending to be a father figure. But I give us an example there. Gotham Knights issue 17, one of the most heartwarming issues in their relationship, where deep into their relationship, we're talking about Batman and Nightwing, not Batman and Robin. Bruce adopts Dick as his son. On paper, you are my son. It's awesome. Check it out. Check it out. So, they have a great relationship. They have a great. Nightwing has told that man on Dick Nightwing has told Bruce on many occasions, "I would die for you," and he's put that to the test. He's proven it through his actions. These two are just a father and son dynamic, and it's one of the greatest relationships, the third greatest relationship that I've seen in the comics to this period. Now, that brings an end to the Western comic portions of this list. That's done. The top two were the anime, and again, anime because the relationships maintain and they push through to fruition in many instances. Especially with the top number one on this list. But my second favorite, greatest relationship in anime or comics, Western comics, Monkey D. Luffy and Roronoa Zoro. The captain and his first mate. This is fire. This is straight fire because they're like, I don't even know how to classify that. Partners. It's just partners. Eyeball. You know what I'm saying? These men was his partners. You know what I'm saying? It even goes beyond captain and first mate. I mean, but the example that I bring here is one of my favorite in the series. Go to the animation, the animated series, episode 323. Because in this instance, Zoro has to correct Luffy while still maintaining his post as being a subordinate. And Zoro has no issues with being a subordinate to Luffy, but he has to correct him, and Luffy accepts it. That's a difficult thing to do, to tell the dude that's over you that he's wrong and tell him that in front of his crew in no uncertain terms, and the two still maintain their friendship and still maintain their relationship as captain first mate. Check it out. Check it out. That's a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to do, and Oda, the writer, just pulls it off. You know what I'm saying? It's just beautiful. I get up in my feelings when I get to One Piece. That's what it is. But One Piece is the greatest comic book, anime, manga of all times. In my opinion, that's just what it is. It's the truth. But anyway, check that out. I mean, I can't. It's difficult to just talk about it. Like I say, One Piece is one of the things you got to experience. But check out episode 323 of the anime. You see the dynamic between these two. And there's other episodes that I could have brought up, but you see that these are two people that their friendship could survive conflict easily. And I think that's represented in that episode. So number 2 is Monkey D. Luffy and Roronoa Zoro. Number 1, the shocker. It's not Lois and Clark. It's not none of them other guys. Edward and Alphonse Eric from Full Metal Alchemist, the Eric brothers. Full Metal Alchemist to me is the best animated series that I've ever come across. And I got to put it over top of One Piece because One Piece isn't finished yet. Full Metal Alchemist is done, and it was done perfectly. There's barely any fat. There's no fat. I don't think there is any fat. it's a perfect series, and now it's in a time capsule because it's done. And the relationship between the two brothers is heavenly. It's great. As an example, there, go to the Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood series, episode 9, Created Feelings. That's going to bring me to tears. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying that right now. That's going to bring me to tears because you see these, again, brothers surviving conflict. There's a misunderstanding. Alphonse thinks that there's a possibility that his brother has betrayed him. And it's perfectly set up. Should I get into that? No. But it is perfectly set up. There was foreshadowing to this happening in the series. You should watch the entire series, to be honest with you. Watch the entire series, but this is foreshadowing. Edward he has regrets, and he has regrets that he hasn't expressed to his brother yet, because he's afraid of the answer that he would get from Alphonse. Then when Alphonse blows up at him, those fears are brought to life. And the two have to hash out their feelings. Now, it's done relatively quickly within this episode. But again, there's foreshadowing up into this. And the fears that Edward has, are quite obvious. They're legitimate fears, if you think about it. Does he blame me for this? He feels that everything that's happened to the two of them is his fault. Alphonse doesn't feel that way, as we find out. But he feels he is to blame for everything that's happened to his brother, but he's never asked him, do you feel the same way? Because he's afraid of what Alphonse would say if he asked. And then it all blows up in this particular instance. So, but all their journeys was just to get their original bodies back. They screwed up. Alphonse is in a suit of armor, and Edward has lost his arm, leg, and they just want to get their original bodies back. And they go through all the trials and tribulations and madness to reach the point at the end of the story. Is just beautiful. It's a beautiful relationship. So like I'm saying, check out Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, episode 9. Like I said, it gets me every time. So these are my top 10 comic book / manga relationships. I don't have any honorable mentions. Let me know what you think. What are your favorite relationships in comic books, anime, or whatever? Again, relationships are the backbones of any story. Without relationships, stories are just tales of adventures that may not carry any resonance because you don't care about the people involved and how they care about each other. Or even if they hate each other, you don't have any context to the feelings of the people involved. It's just a tale. It's just an adventure. But relationships make adventure stories. So let me know what you think. Let me know what's your favorite relationships. If you got a top 10, that's fine. If you got just one, just let me know. That's it for now. Until next time, stay loose.